So welcome along. I'm Jon Francis. On our sports programme today, we're going to be looking at that EFL decision to end Leagues 1 and 2. We're also going to be looking at the future for players who might be out of contract. And it's almost a big kick-off in the Premier League as well. So joining us today to look at things, we've got former Swansea City scout Eric Gilchrist, we've got broadcast journalist Richard Shaw-Wright, and I'm delighted to say we've got football agent Brett Norman with us. Hello to you all and a special welcome along, Brett. How are you?
Hi guys.
Hi mate, you all good?
Yeah, we're all well. Let's kick things off. We'll come to your role in a second, Brett, but we have to kick off really with the news from the EFL that broke between the last time we were speaking and this edition. Of course, the decision to end Leagues 1 and 2 as they were. And Eric, you said that was the way it was going to go with League 1, didn't you? Even though there was a lot of clubs that may be against it. League 2 looked a little bit more inevitable, but of course it's led to that inevitable unhappiness from some of the teams.
Yeah, I think it were inevitable, as we've spoken about before, and I think it's a decision, to be fair, that's been taken for the many and not for the benefit of the few, really, because I think it's pretty clear that some of the clubs in both League 1 and League 2, had they been forced to carry on playing till the end of a season with no crowds, I think it's pretty sure we'd have seen a number of clubs going under. And so I think in some respects the many have got together in order to protect each other. And obviously it's upset one or two. Obviously the Peterborough people are not too happy about how things have worked out. I think for the greater good of the game, it's probably been a good decision, and there is still the opportunity for some clubs to fight for promotion to the Championship. But I thought 2 or 3 weeks ago, I thought it was the only reasonable decision they could make, to be honest.
Nevertheless, Richard, Eric touched on Peterborough there. Barry Fry was very vocal, no surprise there, I suppose, about what was going on with them, the fact that they were in really good form, perhaps better form than Wickham, who dropped out of those automatic places and now bounced back into those playoffs. And he's admitted that they're going to have to sell their best players, the likes of Ivan Toney. It's going to have to go. Tranmere are already talking about laying off some more staff, aren't they, and cutting costs because they're going to be back in League 2. It's probably the only outcome that they could have done. But again, you feel for some of these teams.
You do, but it's just unfortunate, isn't it? Whatever has happened or whatever's happened by going down the points per game route, we're in a situation which no one has ever had to deal with in terms of, the real world, let alone the sporting world. So, as Eric says, they've gone down the route which is for the benefit of most rather than a few clubs who have been inconvenienced. That's unfortunate for the likes of Peterborough and Tranmere. But you have to take these tough decisions. And other than resuming the season at some point in the future, at which point no one's got a clue whenever anything will get back to anywhere near normality, they had to make a decision now to end this season so they can start the next season, hopefully with crowds or at least on time.
Yeah, Brett, just tell us about maybe some of your clients, how they're feeling about things with the decision that's been taken here.
I've got no players directly involved in that situation really, but I do feel for the likes of Peterborough and things. I think the thing that I don't like about it is that the clubs have voted, and each club's got their own self-interest. They're not interested in the competition or anything like that. So that sits a bit uneasy with me. I think I'd like to see the EFL move towards something like they have in the American sports, where they have a commissioner and they have a committee, and basically what they decide goes, rather than people voting for their own personal interests.
You're not in there, Eric?
I think that's a fair point, that, because at the minute it's the chickens voting or turkeys voting for Christmas sort of scenario, and you're proving your own destiny, and there has to be some neutrality somewhere along the line when these decisions have to be made. Yeah, it's a good point.
What do you make of the situation in League 2, Eric? The fact that it was a little bit easier, wasn't it, in terms of the teams in the top 7 to sort of decide the promotion and playoffs. Swindon just leapfrogging Crewe to win the title, didn't they? But then down at the bottom, well, it's an interesting situation here, haven't we, with Stevenage, and then Macclesfield have this possible seduction hanging over them.
I think, to be fair as well, on the Macclesfield front, if we're brutally honest, to be fair, they're probably quite lucky to be where they are, Macclesfield, because the way they've dealt with their staff in terms of, paying them, etc., then they probably don't deserve to be a Football League club, in my opinion, because I think they've put people's livelihoods and people's homes at risk. And you can't keep doing it month after month after month. Something's got to change, and I don't think we can accept that situation in the Football League. I don't think we should accept it in the National League, to be honest, but I have a feeling that knowing the EFL, they'll probably take the easy decision and find Macclesfield enough points for them to remain in the Football League, so they don't have any kind of legal charge. But it don't sit well with me, that one, because I think I do think they've behaved pretty dreadfully, to be honest, for the last 12 months, Macclesfield, in terms of the way they've looked after their own staff. Yeah,
I was going to say, Brett, the punishment, a lot of it's been they've not been able to pay the players, haven't they? I mean, if you were having some of your players who weren't getting paid, it's tough, isn't it? They need the money just like anybody else.
Absolutely, and I think the problem across the Football League is that so many of the clubs are run, they're not sustainable businesses. They are, I mean, the Championship clubs alone, I think, are losing over £500 million a year. I mean, in any other walk of life, you wouldn't run a business like that because you'd go bust. So in a way, I think for the future of the game, this pandemic around football, strictly around football, will be a good thing. I think it'll kind of realign the market a little bit. Everyone will kind of get a bit of realistic valuations back around players and kind of clubs and things. I think it will be a good thing. And if some clubs do fall by the wayside and restart, it's probably a good thing as well, because you can't keep just kind of moving debt from club to club and just trying to carry on like that. It's just not right.
Yeah, do you think it's a wake-up call then, Richard, as well, for some of these teams?
I think it's a wake-up call, not just for football, but for many clubs in across the sporting landscape. It is unsustainable. There can't be many businesses in sport that are run in the correct manner in terms of trying to just, I guess, break even year in, year out and not spend money you haven't got. It's too easy with pressures of supporters or ego of owners to want to chase glory and success. But there's only one team can win the league. There's only a couple of teams can win promotion or cups or whatever. So a lot of teams are going to fall by the wayside. And you hope that clubs are prepared for what will come. And as we mentioned about crowd figures, crowds coming back rather. If we are playing behind closed doors at the start of next season, that's going to have a further knock-on effect. There's only so many people who pay £20 or whatever to have a cardboard cutout at the ground before we get run out of 20 quid, unfortunately.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we've looked at what's going to be happening on the pitch in Leagues 1 and 2. Just give us an insight, Brett, into the way it's gone for you as an agent during this tough time. Tough for everybody, of course, but some of the work you've been doing and some of the players you've been looking after and from their perspective too.
Yeah, so the first few weeks or first month or so was pretty quiet because nobody knew what was happening, and it has started to pick up again now. A lot of clubs are a lot of players as well are using this to their advantage. Some we do a lot of work on the continent in Europe, and some players there they've been owed wages for a while, so they've used a situation to actually get themselves out of a contract, so that then they can go onto the open market. And at the moment, your free transfers, such as Ryan Fraser, for example, they're probably going to earn more money now because free transfers, especially of players of his quality, are going to be more desirable because clubs aren't going to want to be spending transfer fees. We've also then got someone we work with in Australia in the A-League. They've been told to take a 70% wage cut across the board, and in Poland they've taken a 50% wage cut across the board. So it's not just the UK that's been affected, and I think that something will have to follow suit here moving forward as well, where players will have to take some type of wage cut. But in terms of just trying to kind of help players out, and the problem with player recruitment, as Eric will well know, is players think they're more valuable than what they are. And clubs kind of want players for less than what they're actually worth. So trying to find that balance in between, and just kind of networking with clubs and speaking with clubs and trying to find the best deal possible, really, for all parties.
Yeah, what do you think as well, Brett, that the situation is going to be for all these players that are out of contract now, that coming to the end of the contracts at the end of June, and then still the uncertainty about when the next season is going to start, where they're going to be playing next season?
Yeah, we're still not entirely clear on what's going to happen with that, as you say. I mean, in terms of people like Lyle Taylor, who's refused to play, and a couple of other guys who've done the same, in his instance, I do kind of understand that, because he doesn't want to kind of kill his last dream move to earn some real money. But some of the guys like in the Premiership, like Ryan Fraser, I think he should be playing for Bournemouth because he could retire tomorrow and never have to work again. I think there's a difference between the two situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, Eric, isn't it? What's going to happen with some of these players all moving around in the coming months?
I think the landscape's going to change, to be honest, John, because I think, as Brett's just touched on, some of the clubs they can't go on creating the debt that they have done over the last few years, and I think to that extent, clubs will look at things like player bonuses, agent fees, rights for merchandising and things like that, and I fear more for the players at the very bottom end of the pile than those at the top. The top agents will always find somewhere for your Pogbas and people like that. But I think there's going to be such a huge market of players available in the next 3 or 4 months that will, in some respects, drive a little bit of the power back into some of the clubs as well. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a really, really difficult period, both for players and for clubs, because as Brett said as well, finding that happy medium about what a club's prepared to pay and what a player actually wants. There's got to be a means of coming together in the middle somewhere, and I think that could open the door for clubs to look at a lot more players and look at potentially bringing players in from abroad again. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting 3 months now.
Yeah, it is going to see what happens there. But let's move to the other end of the scale, shall we, Richard? The Premier League. Amazingly, perhaps, back in sort of less than a week now. Aston Villa, Sheffield United, Man City, Arsenal, the first 2 matches. They've managed to get it organised. They've got all the testing done. They've got all the protocols in place, and we're ready to go. Are you as excited as some of the fans?
I'm not sure yet because I'm not sure how to react. It's like we're slowly being eased back into sport. We've had obviously the stuff from abroad, the rugby from Australia and whatever has been on, and the snooker behind closed doors last week, and the golf's got back underway in the last couple of days, and this is the last one, is it? Yes, we've had the Bundesliga, yes, we've had La Liga, but it's the best league in the world. That's what they tell us all the time, isn't it? Every game is going to be on TV live. Games for the first time on free-to-air television since 1992. And I think we're almost just waiting for Liverpool to be crowned champions, get that out of the way, which is going to happen sooner rather than later, and then see what happens with the rest of the division. That's a big first game, isn't it? Sheffield United and Aston Villa, because Villa obviously not in the best of form down at the bottom end of the table, trying to get out of the relegation zone, and the Blades, who've had such a great season. Chris Wilder, probably the manager of the year, and they're on the verge of European qualification. So big game to kick things off. I think by the time we get there, I might be a bit more excited than I am now, but I've almost talked myself into excitement as we speak.
How are you seeing it, Brett? The situation, obviously, the games behind closed doors, and we've seen a lot of away wins, haven't we, in the Bundesliga rather than the home wins. How do you see it panning out? The teams down at the bottom, are some going to be disadvantaged by this, but some might see it as an advantage, might they?
I think it's going to be interesting because, in a way, it's like a new season, even though it's still the existing season, because everyone's had a 3-month break. So I think some clubs, their form will turn upside down if they were really playing really poor. I think they might play really well. They get a couple of early wins. I think I'm not too sure that the crowd thing is going to play that much of a part. I know Liverpool walloped Blackburn yesterday 6-0 in front of no fans. That didn't seem to affect them. But it will be interesting to see how different teams adapt. But I think in terms of relegation, I think anyone from kind of Brighton down is really at risk of relegation.
Yeah, how are you seeing it, Eric? It's going to be probably arguably more interesting, that relegation scrap, isn't it, towards the end? Because like Richard says, Liverpool, it's a question of when and not if. It could be in the first week, that, couldn't it? And and of course, the game's coming more thick and fast, more pressure on the teams when they're seeing the results of maybe some of their rivals on previous days as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be difficult to gauge the bottom end of the table because, like Brett's just said, we've had 3 months off now, and some of those clubs were carrying injuries prior to this close down. They'll have got some key players back. That might well change form slightly. I think in terms of the TV aspect, I think everybody's been crying out for the Premier League to come back. I think the whole country wanted it as a little bit of a fillip for what we've been through over the last few months. But I'll be very, very interested to see in terms of viewing figures over the next 3 or 4 weeks, whether that drifts after a period of time. Because I think when you're throwing games on every day, the people you talk to around the game who watch the Bundesliga will tell you it's been nice to watch it on TV, but it doesn't have that same feel as it does when there's a packed crowd in the stadium. So I think it'll come back on the crest of a wave. But I'll be honest, I wouldn't be at all surprised if in sort of 2 or 3 weeks' time that the sort of viewing figures on TV just dips a little bit because people are thinking it's not actually quite what it was prior to lockdown. But I think the bottom end of the table, I think that's going to be great to watch. As Brett says, right up to Brighton. Any one of those clubs could go, and I think it only wants one of them to put 2 or 3 wins together, and it shakes the whole picture up.
Yeah, I think I have to admit, really, the novelty's probably worn off with me in the Bundesliga after a couple of weeks. But I am following Cologne, and they haven't won since the lockdown resumed in 5 matches, so that might have something to do with it.
You know how to pick your clubs, Jon, don't you?
Yeah, but it's only because I went there. No scientific or footballing ability basis on that at all. Yeah, Richard, how are you seeing the relegation battle? Is it going to go right down to the wire? Aston Villa playing West Ham, aren't they, on the final day of the season? Could be an interesting one.
Could be very much indeed. You look at that table, as Brett was saying, Brighton down. Is it? You think Norwich probably have got too much to do, but even so, we have no real idea of how this is going to work, do we, with no crowds, and how that will affect some teams rather than others. Are the teams who really need that crowd support behind them? Will less pressure do better for those teams who don't have those big crowds getting on their back? You still think Norwich will go down? I couldn't call it. I mean, Brighton's form looks terrible, doesn't it, going into this period? But then again, West Ham have only won 1 in 6. Watford the same. Bournemouth. I wouldn't like to call it at the minute. I do worry about West Ham, though. With there's a player who says he's not going to play or wants to leave when his contract ends in reality rather than being extended. So there's obviously not perfect behind the scenes there. I wonder if West Ham could get dragged into this really in the first couple of weeks after the resumption.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, sports having a chance to make a statement with what's happening politically with the situation in the United States and the Black Lives Matter movement, Eric, and all the players' names are going to be removed from the shirts, aren't they? And Black Lives Matter is going to be replaced there. There's going to be an NHS badge as well, showing support, showing how powerful football and sport generally can be.
It is, and I think going right back to the beginning of it, I do believe it's a societal problem, but I think sport's got a massive part to play in this. I think when you think about the things that we can do that we probably haven't done over the last few years, and my own opinion is football can play a big part because it's a great medium for making statements about issues like this. But I also think the government and the sort of justice system have to do a little bit more in terms of when we've got issues that are proven to be racial, we have to do more with it. I think, as I mentioned on an earlier programme, I can't see when we have the England players racially abused in Europe last year, and then we issue the sort of national association of that country a £40,000 fine for the number of players that got racially abused in that stadium, and then a month later you're finding one of our football clubs £250,000 for spying on a training session. That doesn't sit well with me at all. That's just I don't see any relevance between those two situations. We have to stamp this out absolutely, full stop. And I don't think there can be. I think the penalties for players, fans, has to be way bigger than they currently are. I don't think there's a big enough deterrent in order to do this. And I think we should, both as a nation and as a sport, all sports, we've got to do more to stamp this out, because we've been talking about it and pretending that we're doing something about it for 15, 20, 25 years now. And if we're brutally honest about it, we haven't cracked it, have we yet? We haven't got this situation sorted. So I think it's probably a pivotal time now. It's come off the back of a difficult period for the country, but I think we've really got to get our teeth into this and get it sorted, because some of the things that are happening are just totally unacceptable.
Yeah, some good points there, Eric, and Brett. Obviously, someone like Raheem Sterling in a position that he can do that, can't he? He spoke very well this week about the situation.
Yeah, it did, to be fair. I'm not normally a fan of political agendas being kind of pushed through sport, but I think this one in particular obviously needs addressing, as Eric said. I've also listened this week, and they've been talking about potentially bringing in the Rooney Rule in terms of trying to get more black coaches within professional football. I'm not sure what I think about that. I don't know what you think, Eric, about that rule.
I think it's a difficult one. We would like to see that. There are very, very good black coaches who don't get the opportunity to coach at the very top level. Mm-hmm. I think the danger you've got is how far you go with that in terms of not appointing the right person for the right job.
Yeah.
I think that's where that kind of comes open to criticism, in that you kind of, at some point, you're excluding somebody for a reason that might not be related to how they would perhaps carry out their job.
Yeah.
I do feel there has to be more done to give black coaches and black managers a route to the very top clubs. And I look at quite a lot of people who serve their apprenticeship, if you like, further down. Darren Moore, Sol Campbell. These people have got to be then given it, rather than, and this is my opinion, rather than then us go worldwide and try and bring coaches in from all over the world. We have to give these people an opportunity to go and ply their trade at the top level as well. And I'm not so sure we've done that over the last, I think the stats would prove we've not done that over the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah. I don't think Dwight York helped this week. I don't know if you heard his interview where he said he'd applied for 2 jobs and he'd never had anything back. And he felt because he had Sir Alex Ferguson as a reference on his CV, he should automatically be getting, feedback and things from jobs. As you'll know, Eric, we've put many coaches forward for jobs all around the world. It's very rare you get any feedback at all, any acknowledgement. So for Dwight to have applied for 2 jobs in 11 years since he retired, I don't think that's particularly helped the argument, but I do think there is something more that could be done.
Yeah.
And interesting, Richard, what's happened in the US as well with the NFL. Colin Kaepernick, they didn't support him, and look what's happened to his career. And they look to have completely backtracked on that now, don't they?
They got it completely wrong, didn't they? Because if they had have backed him at the start, I'm not saying we wouldn't be in the situation we are right now, but certainly in the way that sport has dealt with this thing, it does seem to be that sometimes, and probably football is the worst of this because it's the highest profile sport in our country, something happens, we'll get a slogan, we'll get a hashtag on their shirt, we'll all wear T-shirts before a match. Same with rugby league, we've got a mental health round where we'll all wear T-shirts going mental health matters, and then all go back to abusing people on social media. So it's all right doing things such as having Black Lives Matter on the backs of shirts, and it's a great gesture and whatever, but we have to, as Eric and Brett, so we have to follow these things up and actually have to do things that actually mean something, rather than just here's a T-shirt to wear, go out there lads and wear it. We have to actually be seen to do something that actually has a positive impact on society, because sport has that unique way of cutting through to people that nothing else can do to large groups of people. And as I was mentioning about punishments, there's always that strange difference in so much as if you are a fan in the stands and you racially abuse a player, you're likely going to be banned for life. If you're a player on the pitch and you racially abuse a player, you get a 6-game ban and a fine or whatever. And I'm not saying we can ban players for life, or you shouldn't ban fans for life, but 6 games or 8 games or a fine, there has to be real punishments given out to people who do racially abuse or homophobic abuse or whatever abuse. It shouldn't be a part of the world of sport.
It never sits comfortably with me when you look at the number of athletes that we've had suspended for 2 years, 3 years for taking drugs. Yeah. What's the difference? Why can't we have them similar sort of penalties? Because I think it would very quickly, people who thought their careers were at risk would very quickly think about some of the things that they would say and some of the actions they would take on a football pitch, on a sports pitch, on a rugby pitch. We have to get this into perspective, and we have to have discipline that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens over the coming weeks. I'm sure it's something that's not going to go away the rest of the year. A couple of last other bits I wanted to touch on, a couple of other sports. Richard, in terms of rugby league and rugby union, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, they're actually going to have fans in the stadiums. Amazing the situation with COVID-19 there. And they're trailblazers, aren't they, now, trying to get supporters back in to watch the matches.
I know there's far less people live in New Zealand than live, say, in the UK or the USA, but my word, haven't they shown great leadership in that country of dealing with this crisis? And fans are going to be back in the stands, which is going to change things. Obviously, not as many as usually are. They won't be packing out the stands just yet, but it'd be good to see normal people and not cardboard cutouts or noise being played over TV coverage to the players in the stand. It'd be interesting to see how that affects the action on the field. And rugby, the AFL's back in Australia as well. So everything down under is starting to get back to normal slowly. And it's going to be interesting how things change. But they are showing the way. And hopefully, if we can follow what they're doing, then we'll have fans back in some capacity at some point when it's safe over here as well.
Yeah, and Rugby League over here, just give us the latest on what's happening with the situation.
Nothing. Still as we were last week at the moment, John. No word yet on a resumption. Still looking at July or August, you'd think, along with pretty much everything else, it seems, at the moment. The big question is over what happens in the second tier, because there's no money. There's no TV deal for the second division apart from piggybacking on the Super League deal. So those teams heavily rely on fans coming through the gate, which obviously aren't going to happen at the moment. The chairman of Lee, who's spent plenty of money on trying to get his team promotion this year before the situation, wants there to be some kind of promotion from the Championship. How that will happen, I'm not sure. Today's floated the idea of having a 16-team Super League this year, when we've already started with 12 teams, putting 4 more teams in there. I'm not sure how that can work, especially with the fact that the 4 teams for the Championship have built Championship squads. So a 16-team league and then 4 teams being relegated at the end of the season. I cannot see the 12 teams in Super League voting for that at all. Unfortunately, as we say with League One and League Two in football, no one could have foreseen what would happen, and I'm not sure how they can get out of the mess of the Championship or League One in Rugby League, but that will take those running the sport to make some very difficult decisions, which will upset the few, but work out better for the many, to go back to that motif again.
Yeah, absolutely. Just finish off final couple of minutes of the programme, guys. Just wanted to mention the big fight, really, the big exciting boxing news. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua are going to get it on, not once but twice. Brett, just firstly, these are complex deals, aren't they? Promoters / agents that they have to thrash it out. Would you like to be involved in something like that? And it's interesting, they've actually seemed to have agreed the money first, don't they? Which is usually a stumbling block. Yeah,
I'd like to know something like that. The only problem is, if you're owed money by the fighters, you couldn't kind of intimidate them at all, because obviously they would smack them to pieces. But no, I'm really excited for this one. I think it's a shame it's probably not going to be in the UK. I think that would have at Wembley or something like that would have been unreal. It sounds like it's going to be in Saudi Arabia or somewhere else in the Middle East, which is a bit disappointing. I think it takes a little bit of the sting out of it. Even if it was in Vegas, getting up early in the morning on a Sunday to watch it, it's got that razzmatazz. But the Middle East for me kind of takes the sting out of it. But having said that, it'll still be a cracking couple of fights if they actually happen, because I'm still not convinced yet. There's a long way to go.
You think there's a few stumbling blocks along the way. Eric, just I know you're a big boxing fan. Just give us how you see the fight's going to go. It's 50-50, is it? Or slightly with Tyson Fury after his last
I think I'd pick Fury over. I think Fury's got the tools to, like he did with Wilder. I don't think it matters really how big a puncher you are against Fury. I think he's one of those that can box you for 12 rounds and still has the power to knock you out if he does. I'm a bit with Brett. I'm not 100% convinced, that it's going to take place, because I think there's a lot of fights to take place before they happen. And the second thing is, I think it will be an absolute tragedy if it goes abroad. I just can't see it. The USA would never, ever allow one of the biggest fights in history between 2 of their boxers to go outside the USA. And I think we should be doing everything we possibly can. As Brett's just said, we've got a fantastic national stadium. Why can't it be there,
Yeah, we shall see. I'm sure we'll be talking about the build up to those fights in the coming weeks. Thanks to Brett Norman. Really appreciate you joining us today, Brett. Good
Thanks for having me.
The role of the agent. Thanks, Eric. Thanks to Richard as well. And join us next time for some more sports chat. Thanks a lot.